Another night and another traveler. I wanted to know who these travelers are and why they keep stalking my dreams. But perhaps the traveler, sensing my intention, had instead decided to flood my mind with a map of the Jardenverse and feelings of anxiety and overpowering menace emanating from the Phyrecondian. I was made to understand that the Phyrecondian grew to near full dominance of the Jardenverse by infecting and assimilating all the races that they had encountered. Therefore, they possessed both the technological and biological advantages of all the races they assimilated. Why then have they not yet grown to full dominance, I wondered. The traveler had revealed to me that the Phyrecondian met resistance at various parts of the Jardenverse. First, the so-called Celescar at the core of the Jardenverse. They are a race of large intelligent stars who often have avatars that appear angelic or celestial. They construct these via manipulation of their local solar systems. They gain sentience when experiments by an ancient unknown race caused the complex magnetic fields of these stars to entangle with the quantum fields of the Jardenverse. Time-delayed temporal feedback loops have then allowed the magnetic fields to evolve in a Darwinian sense, eventually creating sentience. The Celescar are a united people and take little interest in the affairs of the puny life forms of the Jardenverse. Perhaps because their intelligence and abilities far surpasses those of other races, and yet their nature as stars prevents them from traveling far outside the core of the Jardenverse. The Phyrecondian, ever hungry for conquest, still try to invade the Celescar, often resorting to creative technological attacks, since the Phyrecondian parasites are unable to infect the scorching inorganic Celescar. But they have never had success and are always scorched out of the core. Next I wondered about the domain on the bottom of the map. The traveler revealed that it is too chaotic for the Phyrecondian. Constants that govern the laws of nature, such as the strength of gravity and the electromagnetic field, are only immutable on the top right part of the map. Towards the west the constants can be influenced by mere will, meanwhile on the south the constants are unpredictable and random. Phyrecondian invasions into this area oftentimes fail immediately due to freak problems that should never occur, such as malfunctions in the faster-than-light engines that cause entire fleets to be destroyed, or instabilities in the power cores of the ships that cause them to explode. Other times the invasion will go very well for many years, until eventually succumbing to a string of subtle misfortunes that combine to form an unbelievable and almost rehearsed cascade of failures that ruin the invasion. The traveler whispered to me that the laws of nature are not only random in this domain, but also behave as if controlled by a mischievous mind that likes creating chaos, sometimes in very creative ways. There are, however, creatures that thrive in such chaos, especially the borderlands are teeming with unusual civilizations, but most of these have little influence on the grand events of the Jardenverse. There is, however, one that stands out, the Sulibae. They are a feudal people divided into many fiefdoms, often competing with each other. They have a unique combination of technological, biological, and something they refer to as astral capabilities. They are nomadic and do not live on planets, instead they live on mobile floating worlds such as large asteroids. Their resourcefulness and flexibility, as well as their ability to more easily survive the chaos, have allowed them to evade and in some cases even hurt the Phyrecondian. However, their lack of unity has hindered their achievements and they tend not to do very well outside the chaotic parts of the Jardenverse. I also wondered why the Phyrecondian do not expand outward to the north, but the traveler cryptically told me that the Jardenverse is like a garden, maintained by shadows, and these shadows trim any branches that grow astray. Allegedly, ships venturing into the shadows are never heard from again. The eastern section is blocked off by a large crack in the universe which is thought to be intraversible. Finally, to the west is the domain of the Elseer. I had already learned from the previous traveler that they can shape reality to their wills, and that they use this power to keep the Phyrecondian at bay. However, the new traveler made me understand more about the intricacies and limitations of the Elseer power. The physical constants and by extension the very laws of nature can be shaped by wills in the northwest part of the Jardenverse, and the Elseer have several mental abilities such as telekinesis, telepathy, and a natural affinity for influencing their part of their Jardenverse. However, their domain is like a rubber spring. Influencing it requires a constant exertion of mental power, and the greater one's power, the more it can influence reality. The natural power of the Elseer is not enough to create the sort of influence that can keep the Phyrecondian at bay, so they use living amplifiers. These amplifiers are organic networks that naturally infest many asteroids in the Jardenverse. They are believed to have a rudimentary intelligence. The Elseer effectively farm these creatures and hijack their minds to create a powerful will that allows the Elseer to greatly influence the reality of their domain, and it allowed them to build an extremely advanced civilization, as well as keep the Phyrecondian at bay. However, the Elseer usually prefer to stay within their domain because their power wanes outside of it. Now I had a better understanding of the power balance of the Jordanverse, but my original question about the Traveler remained. The Traveler sensed my query but replied that there would be another time for such questions. Then I awoke. The more I thought about it, the more questions I had. Perhaps I will know more on another night. Well then, that is the end of my story today. If you have any critiques, comments or things that you would like to see in this universe, then please let me know in the comments down below. On this channel I plan to release more videos that expand the Jordanverse story, as well as devlogs about my game Alien Hover Tanks, which will also be set in the Jordanverse. So if you like this kind of content, then please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching and bye.